Let's bring into the conversation Israel's special envoy for combating anti-Semitism, Michal Kotler-Wunsch. Great to have you with us this morning. Hanukkah starts tonight. We also should point out. I'm just curious about your reaction. We're happy that President McGill maybe saw the light and came around and put out that statement. But to say I wasn't prepared, you're not prepared for the question about whether calling for the genocide of the Jewish people constitutes bullying on your campus is a little bit of a tough one to swallow.
So I'll say that I actually went to brief the entire committee yesterday as a follow-up to the hearing. And I think what Rev was saying is actually the most important. And in the introductory comments, what we have to realize is the nature of the double standard actually collapses the entire principle, right? These are universities that created diversity, equity, and inclusion infrastructure that applies to everybody, except for if you're a Jew / Zionist / supporter of Israel. That is a problem for everybody. If we collapse the infrastructure with double standard, it cannot protect anybody, right? Today, it's the Jew / Zionist / supporter of Israel. Tomorrow, it's everybody else. And so I would say we should get those buses onto those campuses, no matter who they enable to attack. And there's one more piece. Look, the understanding that Zionism today on campuses is considered racism, and we have to sort of address this, right? UN resolution 1975, Soviet propaganda, Zionism is racism, is alive and well in the name of progress on 2023 campuses. We're going to have to be able to unpack that, because Zionist is the identity of the majority of Jews and many non-Jews. I cannot just shed that Zionist pound of my identity in order to fit in and be a good Jew or a good human being. And that is a part of the longer process that has led us to this point, so that there are leaders without more clarity or courage to call out what needs to be said, which is, if all students deserve protection, so do David, who's a Jew, or Catherine, who's a Zionist. And if we can't say that using the DEI infrastructure, there's something inherently wrong with the way that it came about. And I would say this is also a moment of reckoning for academic institutions in general. This is not just about anti-Semitism or about Jews or the inability to call out genocide as a double standard, because against any other group we would have called it out. It is about what is the intention and mission statement of universities. Is it to teach people how to think? Or is it what we've seen? Is it to teach people what to think, which is actually a very dangerous prospect?
You know, Molly, this has been a problem on college campuses for some time. I go back into the dark ages of Scarborough country. Oh. And yeah, no passport required.
Long time.
Only common sense allowed. But I remember one disturbing anti-Semitic act on college campus after another. And it wasn't just a singular thing. It would be, let's say, and people will know what I'm talking about when I bring it up, a young woman who was kicked off USC's student government because she had the wrong political views regarding Israel. At Columbia, just openly anti-Semitic statements being made by professors over and over and over again. But what I've found since October 7th is that most of us, from conservatives like me to progressives, liberals / progressives like you, have stood together on this and just said, we have got to protect, just as we have to protect Muslim Americans, Palestinian Americans, we have to protect Jews on college campuses. And just sitting back while people are talking about genocide against Jews and saying that that's somehow acceptable speech on college campuses, it's not right. It's just not right. We have to all speak out against it.
Yeah, I'm Jewish and I grew up Jewish, and actually it's funny. I mean, it's not funny, but since this has happened, I've gone back to synagogue much more than I ever did. So I do think, and my daughter too is like, let's go to synagogue tonight. So I definitely do think this has been a call to a lot of Jews to, you know, that there is anti-Semitism is something that we live with, but and I would like us to not, but you know, it is a reality. But I was really disturbed that these college presidents couldn't say anti-Semitism, just like Islamophobia, is wrong. It is wrong. Like, you don't need to couch it in anything else. You can just say it's appalling. It's not okay. And the way they spoke, all in unison, saying the same thing in this very kind of lawyered way, when they couldn't just say it's not okay to discriminate against anyone, even including Jews.
We're talking about 18-year-old kids going to class and having mobs scream about the genocide of Jews. And I mean, if I were a college administrator, well, you wouldn't want me to be in that position. You just wouldn't. It just would not be pretty. But how any college administrator could hide behind legalisms and not say, our first priority, just like those poor Palestinian men that were shot up in Burlington, Vermont. Our first priority is protecting our students from violence, from threats of violence. And again, you call for the killing of an entire race is far more than saying, we support a two-state solution. Netanyahu's position towards the West Bank has been destructive to the peace process. That's an argument to make. Make that on college campuses. Debate it. But the genocide of a people, and you still have the president of Harvard University still thinking that's okay on her college campus.
And they're the grown-ups. That's what I keep coming back to. A lot of these are young kids. They're 18, 19. They're figuring out the world. They don't know the history of the conflict. Maybe they don't know that Israel left Gaza 16 years ago. There's a lot to say. And you can have the discussion like they did at Dartmouth. You guys were talking about that. 60 Minutes did an entire piece about that. They said, hang on. Let's all get in a room together, all different faiths. Let's talk about what's going on here instead of having these fights on campus. And I think it's important to point out, as Joe said, this isn't just some academic exercise. And we know Jewish kids who go to a lot of these schools who are afraid to be there right now. They walk out, they look over their shoulder, they're yelled at, they're harassed just for the act of being Jewish and trying to go to school.
I want to say, we are marking 2 months to 10/7 today. 10/7 was the most atrocious massacre the Jewish people have experienced since the Holocaust. War crimes, crimes against humanity, and according to international law experts, the making of a genocide, the very word that's been thrown around on these campuses. Now, if we do not understand that anti-Semitism never died, it just mutated. And that's what I was referencing before. The current strain of an ever-mutating virus that is permeating and festering and infecting societies and campuses, that strain of anti-Zionism, the negation of Israel's very right to exist.
Let me just, again, let you continue, but let me just say, it never really mutated because this has been the environment on elite college campuses for more than 30 years. And what's happened is you have had people that have learned this in college. They've gone on to get their masters, their PhDs. They've gone in, they've taken those beliefs that they were told 30 years ago, 40 years ago. They have become professors. This has become, and this is one of the reasons we're sitting there. How could they be so blind? How could they be so blind? It's like water for them. They have been in this environment their entire adult life where being anti-Semitic is somehow okay. Calling for the genocide of Jews is okay. Calling for the destruction of Israel is okay. Talking about from the river to the sea, not only okay, that will make you a hit at any cocktail party at any elite college campus. So that's the environment.
You're 100% right. And actually, it has been festering for decades and developing over decades. I referenced before Zionism turning into racism, so to speak, Israel into an apartheid state. An apartheid state has no right to exist. And so if that's what you've sort of consumed for decades, then of course you would call for the dismantling from the river to the sea of that, what you allege to be an apartheid state. But I think something very important that we might be missing, and that is, whereas I'll call it traditional anti-Semitism that many experienced over time, demonized and delegitimized and applied double standards to the individual Jew. What has happened in these decades, in the 75 years systematically of an indigenous people, Jews are an indigenous people, by the way, a prototypical indigenous people that speak the same language and read the same book and traverse the same land and worship the same God. After millennia of exile and persecution, what has happened with that return to Israel is that the demonization, the delegitimization and the double standards, that didn't die. That mutated to actually, from the river to the sea, call to annihilate that proverbial Jew among the nations, the state of Israel, and boomeranging right back to the individual Jew. That is what the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition very clearly addresses. When we talk about anti-Semitism, the first question to ask is, what is anti-Semitism? What are we committed to identifying and combating? And there is a definition. That's my conversation with everyone, by the way, of those university presidents included, one-on-one. If you don't start by defining anti-Semitism, and we have a definition, incorporating it into your policies, including your DEI infrastructure and training, then you are not combating anti-Semitism. You're just throwing around a word which has no meaning.
And Willie, again, you talked about it, but make no mistake, this is happening on college campuses all over America. I unfortunately, I'm hearing about it every day. And again, you know, phrases like from the river to the sea are actually, which is calling for the destruction of Israel, the genocide of Jews. That's actually very much in vogue. It's among students. That is, there's far too much comfort. And that's actually a mainstream position on too many college campuses right now. There's something wrong with our educational system at some of these elite universities, and it needs to be corrected.
Forgive the term in this context, but it's become fashionable almost. On
it is
TikTok,
fashionable.
they hear river to the sea. Okay, I'm going to join something. I'm going to be a part of what feels like a movement. I'm going to go march. And there have been people who've gone out, pollsters, reporters, and said, do you know what river to the sea means to a 19-year-old? And they go, not really. When they explain, they go, oh, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. It's just, they're just sort of, they think they're a part of some movement. Israel's special envoy for combating anti-Semitism, Michal Kotler-Wunsch, thank you so much for being here. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And Vanity Fair's Molly Jong-Fast, thank you as well. As
Molly,
always.
thank you.